I'd like to call a meeting. I'd like to call a meeting in order. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The adoption of agenda and the consent agenda as order of business with identification of any items to be taken off the consent agenda. So we need a motion at that.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will consider another motion on the consent agenda as adopted to approve the financial report for the period of July 1st, 2014 through May 31st, 2015. Approval of the bills from May 1st, 2015 through May 31st, 2015 in the amount of $2,219,394.15.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Board and district leadership team. Carrie.
Yes, I just wanted to announce that we will begin our strategic planning for the upcoming year. The DLT will be working on the academic pillar throughout the summer with the full knowledge that we will need to get input from our staff, and hopefully we will be able to gather some input from our community through the Panther panels. Next month, we will have a conversation at the Committee of the Whole meeting on the strategic plan for the community engagement pillar. And in August, we will address the present goals on the financial pillar, and new goals of the financial pillar will be developed alongside the academic, extracurricular, and community engagement pillar. So ultimately, what the schedule looks like is that in July, Jamie's going to engage us in some conversation around the community engagement pillar. The financial pillar goal attainment will be discussed in August. The academic pillar will come to the school board in September at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and the extracurricular in October. So that's our schedule, and we will fully engage with the community, our staff, and the board to be able to bring that all to you. So get it all set for the upcoming school year.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll continue with finance, buildings, and grounds. We need to consider an amendment to the 2015-2016 Teachers Employment Framework with A, the additional extracurricular assignments, and B, with increase of substitute teachers' pay. John, did you want to?
Sure. Talk about the extracurricular assignments first. Dan and his committee basically had met previously and reviewed all of our existing extracurricular assignments, and then went through other things that were going on in the school that were happening with large participation and weren't necessarily I guess sponsored by the school district, and that's where the list of 5 new extracurricular assignments came from. And they asked me to prepare a budget for those extracurricular assignments, looking at the time, length of season, those kind of things, and compared to similar positions that we currently pay for. And so we came up with this list, which is presented for you tonight. The 5 new extracurricular assignments are a coach for the Jolly Prankster Comedy Sports team, 3 coaches for the Tech Ed Club, coach for the Future Business Leaders of America, a junior varsity dance coach, and a youth apprenticeship liaison, with their salaries and benefits, and then the some services, which is largely transportation, a guesstimate, I guess, of what at least some of their transportation will cost. Obviously, they have to do fundraising for the rest of it, but the total budget addition for this package is $19,116. I guess that's what we're requesting the board to amend and add those assignments to the Schedule C. The second amendment to the Schedule C is to increase the substitute teacher pay. Currently, we are I would say the lowest payer around these parts, probably a 5-county area, the way it looks, but we currently pay $80 per day and $90 after 10 consecutive days in the same assignment. We are suggesting to increase the pay from $80 to $95 a day and $105 after 10 days in the same consecutive assignment. Reason being, we are having difficulty attracting subs at those pay rates. While that percentage seems quite high, the fact of the matter is even $95 will only put us about in the low middle of area schools. And so I guess what we're really hoping is those teachers who are close to our area will save the gas money and stay in the Plymouth School District as opposed to going over to, say, Howards Grove or Sheboygan, where they might pay a little more, but they would have to have the mileage. So I guess that the cost of that is approximate because we never know exactly how many subs we run from year to year, but based on the salaries and Social Security would have to pay for that. Based on last year's budget and moving it forward to this year's budget, we'd be increasing the budget by $26,805 roughly. So that's what's built in our budget. You have any questions or other comments? Dan, you want to say anything about the extracurriculars?
No, I think you covered it perfectly.
Okay.
So we need a motion to, for the additional extracurricular assignments and to increase the substitute teachers' pay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any noes? No? Okay. The next one we will consider is the implementation of the district's final offer for the 2015-2016 collective bargaining agreement with the Plymouth Education Association. We will need a motion to implement the Board of Education's final offer with the Plymouth Education Association, which calls for a 0% increase to a total base wage for the 2015-2016 school year, and a 2.7% increase for the total salary increases budget for 2015-2016 school year, to be distributed as supplemental discretionary compensation for teachers according to the district's career and compensation model.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that one too.
Okay. Discussion on this at all?
Tim, when it says 0%, all that means is that we're not changing the rate at which a teacher is first hired in it.
That's our base rate.
That's,
Right.
and that's the only thing that really means, right?
The base, we consider the base wage, and we have said so in our teacher career plan. The base wage is a starting wage, okay? And at this time, we are not increasing that, it'll be a 0. But for the other teachers who are working in our compensation model, there will be increases depending upon what the teacher does, up to 2.7% for total, correct, John?
Total average.
total.
That's the average increase per teacher. The actual ranges of increases are like
Right.
between
Yeah.
0 and
Yeah.
almost 7%.
Okay,
And John will talk a little more about that when he goes over the budget.
sure. Any more discussion?
Now, we're in what I think is the final year of implementing this ladder. Am I correct in that? And that there's some teachers that aren't going to get a increase because either they're presently paid above their grade, or there's kind of like as we've tried to move into this, it takes a little bit of time for us to get into the ladder. Is that correct?
That is correct.
There's a transition period.
That's it, that's the word I was thinking of. So after this year, the transition will be complete, or do we have a little bit more to go?
Not necessarily, depending upon who it is. The one thing that, I think that the transition will take at least another year.
Right, there's
For
essentially
some.
two components. One transition is every teacher had to have a summative in the system. That takes 3 years, that's a 3-year cycle. So there's a few teachers who will not yet have had a summative in the
Yeah.
system. And then to catch everyone up to their level could take substantially longer.
And also, the other thing is, remember, we're doing the focus groups, so, what goes forward will come out of some of those focus groups too, so.
And from the focus groups, we, during discussion, Bob, you might want to mention that we had talked about tweaking our compensation model and forming committees next year.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason we're having the focus groups is this is all brand-new territory when we went to this career and compensation model, and you never get it right the first time. So, what we're really looking for is feedback on some of the areas, and from that, we'll take that and see, what adjustments can be made to allow people to move along the compensation ladder and deliver the things that we want to see delivered to the school district. So we want it to be fair and we want it to get it right, but it's not going to happen overnight, so.
And we're working on that.
Yeah.
Has there been enough time that we can kind of hear or figure out what's happening, other school districts around us or statewide? I know everybody was making up their own plans, and is there any of that feedback that we can work off yet?
Yeah, we listen to that a lot during our area negotiators meetings, where different school districts share their plans, and, when we go to conferences, we're able to see different school districts' plans and stuff. So yes, absolutely, we'll be able to use other models and our own to be able to go forward, so.
And at the end of the day, we're always taking a pulse of where we stand against our peer groups, against, districts in our area, just as we did with the substitute teacher pay. We're doing that for our administrators as well as our teachers. So we have to be marketplace competitive, and whatever we come up with needs to be comparable to what other people are doing in the district. Now, how they do it, everyone's going to do it differently. But the end result is we're competitive with the other districts.
Yep.
What's the dollar amount that 2.7% represents?
The salary itself is about $222,000, and then you add the related retirement and fringes on there, it goes about $256,000 budget impact.
Yeah, John will show that in the budget.
Well, it won't be that detailed, but yeah.
So actually, it's pretty close to $250,000.
Yeah, right in that area.
And it's distributed according to the career and compensation ladder, which means that it really is, right now, a pay-for-performance model. And, depending upon many factors, nothing's the same as it used to be. Everybody got the same thing no matter what. Years of experience, how many credits you had. Now, there is the component of performance that plays into it, and a few other things, so.
Okay. Any more questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. We'll move on to item C, 2015-2016 budget. John?
Sure. I think I'm gonna have to stand up there, or stand up and sit down a lot or something. In May or June of each year, we provide a fiscal snapshot of the following fiscal year's budget. It's not the final budget, but it's the one we start the fiscal year with in July 1st. We're a bit later than usual this year because we're kind of waiting on the work of the state Senate and Assembly. Tonight's budget is prepared based on what has passed the Joint Finance Committee at this time. I don't expect a lot of changes to that aspect of it. But certainly that is a major component, especially when it comes to the revenues that we'll look at first. Overall, we are projecting a 0.5% increase in our operating revenues. Components of this slight increase in local sources I'll discuss a bit. Our open enrollment is at a full roster of applicants, so that number is always a little larger now than it will be in September. Our state sources are relatively flat. Basically, we should get more state aid, but we will, because of growing enrollment, but we will also get less from the OSHCAP, kind of flattens out. Federal sources are basically just right now where the grants are written at. That can fluctuate a little bit too. Other sources, the biggest difference there is we had did a financing of the lease last year that appears revenue and then as a liability at the same time, and that will not reoccur this year. So overall, we're looking at about a half percent increase in revenue. Some of the assumptions this budget is based on that are kind of going on at the state. Entire state will get a 0% increase in the revenue limit or the dollars allowed per student. That is largely driven by our enrollment, a 3-year rolling average of our enrollment multiplied by a $9,000 plus figure gives us the majority of our budget. And that number for us is increasing slightly. We have a very slow climb in enrollment over the last couple, 3 years. And the year that is dropping off of that 3-year rolling average is significantly less than the year we presume to be adding on next year. And so we will get a little boost that way. One of the big discussions at the state level was this $150 per student they were going to entirely remove at the start of the budget. That was Governor Walker's proposal that has been restored by the legislature. But that is, while it's $150 per student, it is $0 more dollars for us. And that's what we got last year, and that's what we're presuming we'll get this year. And then as I stated before, we previously had an arrangement with UW-Oshkosh where they did a cooperative teaching program here. One of their budget cuts is to no longer pay for that coordinator. So that's why we have less state number as well. The growth number.
John, that per student categorical aid of $150
Yes.
really means no extra money coming in for us.
Right. All it was a cut. The original budget, that would have been a cut of aid for us. That would have been about $330,000 off on our revenues. But we're no longer showing that. That would really change our budget situation if that is necessary.
So the original budget had cut that out, and then it was restored by the Joint Finance Committee.
And Joint Finance also has that as increasing $100 for the 16-17 school year, and that will probably be our only revenue increase for the 16-17 school year. That will be around $220,000, $225,000. So the increase of our rolling average is going to show about $135,000 increase. Our increase in open enrollment right now is almost the same number, and then the loss of the UW-Oshkosh program. Those are really the big changes in our revenue stream. Moving over to our operating expense side, there's a lot hidden in these numbers. You'll see a roughly $270,000+ increase in salary and wages, and actually a slight decrease in benefits, bringing our overall increase to $245,000 or 1.3%. In this salary and benefit wage increase are all kinds of things. First, there is the 2.7% average increase per salary for our teachers and our administration based on their framework. That is, while 0% on the base of those numbers, it is a total pay for performance system where that dollars are allocated based on performance of all those individuals. Then we have some small increases in support staff based on their model, which is also similar to the teacher's model. I'm not sure exactly what percent because we're multiple changes and frankly still some of the wages coming in from that, but it's somewhat less than that because a lot of the support staff previously was at or near the top of their salary range. Our benefits there's a couple things going on. One is we have retirees falling off of our retirement plan. Less people are retiring now than did. Basically, we had 2 large groups. The first of those large groups is starting to have expended all of their benefits and start to leave the pool. So next year and over the next couple of years, we should see some reductions, this being one of the smaller ones of about $55,000. In that number, we also had a 0% increase in health insurance with a few policy changes. 1.4% increase in dental insurance, and most of the other benefits were relatively flat.
So the increased revenue that we're getting Almost all of that we're putting into salary and benefits.
Yeah, certainly, and frankly, the increase, our increases in salary and benefits is entirely going to take up that plus some, and you'll see that coming up.
We have to be careful, it's not increased revenue.
Right,
it's-
well, I mean, there is increased revenue from our revenue cap growth of,
Students.
growth student growth.
Right, right.
So, I mean, there is some increased revenue, but it's not based on the state specific
Right.
increased revenue.
But that, what was it, $100, 2016, 17 years, $100 more?
$100 more per student.
Okay, and then,
So,
okay.
so in theory, I guess that would basically fund a similar year of teacher increases that we saw this year, probably close to it. Within that salary and benefit line is also, this number could be updated, it is now a 0.8 FTE increase in salary positions. They recently decided to add, or at least post for a half-time FIAD teacher, which will be paid for largely with having less hours of aid time. So it'll be a budget neutral kind of thing. It's just that FTE will be actually 0.8 now. The new extracurricular positions that you just passed are also in that salary and benefit increase. The new daily rate for sub-teachers is also in that salary and benefit increase. And then like I talked about, the insurances were very favorable this year. And also changing from our old pay health insurance to the TSA benefit hasn't reduced the overall benefit to teachers, but it has allowed us to manage them a little better, whereas the payouts were sometimes $17,000+ for a insurance payout. Our maximum pay, I think, is $13,500 for the highest benefit level for teachers.
And this was implemented at the time of the teacher framework where we had a 5-year payout. Before we didn't have that.
So as long as to stretch a few dollars as opposed to actually reducing the cost.
It's more affordable.
One of the responses we had, obviously, to the lack of revenue growth is to do some budget trimming. I think you'll see every line in the services, supply, equipment, and other cost budget decrease, with the exception of the one due to other schools, which again is largely our open enrollment out based on the full roster. That also grows based on the full roster with new applicants, and will shrink towards come September when those people actually decide if they're going to go out of the district or not. So that number's up a little bit, sort of offsetting the growth in the inbound open enrollment students. But you'll see our operating services are down, our supply requests are down, our capital equipment is down a little bit. Our financing is down largely because of that financial structure I talked about before. We had a very favorable year in workers' compensation, so our rating actually improved quite a lot, so we will be paying almost $13,000 less for workers' comp insurance. Others just kind of memberships and such things don't change a whole lot. What's not in this number, and as we've always talked about, that an electrical project is designed to come out of the fund balance, even though ultimately it will have to show up as an expense on both our financial statements and our budget for next year. We will pay probably more now than $400,000 by the end of June, so that number drawn out for 15, 16, I'm going to guess it's probably going to be $500,000 more likely this year and about $160,000 next year, just based on the very large bill I just got. What's in the budget each year? Principals, buildings, department heads make all kinds of requests. Certainly we aren't going without everything in the budget. We kind of maintained more or less some of the level of capital kind of purchases we've had. Some of the, I guess, selected items include some of these items. We generally get some band instruments. We generally have to upgrade our kitchens in the family consumer ed area. There's some tech ed equipment going in. We always have a rolling number of computers turning over for the one-to-one initiative in the libraries. We're in the second year of updating our defibrillators for health and safety concerns in the Some of the things that didn't make it, obviously, we always have a very long list of these as well. I guess these are typical requests, and, some get chosen, some do not. In our maintenance area, we certainly are undergoing a very large project this year with the electrical update. Since I've been here about 8 years, we've really only been able to go after a large capital project in that area about every other year. So next year would kind of be a year off, so I don't think we have any huge intentions of any particular project, although there is some contingency money, assuming we have the mild winter and things, that we may be able to do something that summer, but it probably won't be anything as large as some of these items, like an auditorium.
And Richard will bring his plan
Yeah.
to the board again for us to be able to look at his long-range plan, so we know what's next.
But know that we were always thinking about replacing things and trying to get them on a capital plan. So overall, with all those numbers put together, we're showing right now $103,000 plus deficit. And again, that does not include the electrical project. Quite frankly, that's a better number than we came in with, I think, last May, when we had about $150,000 deficit, and then over the summer, we whittled that down to about a $10,000 budgeted deficit. There are things that happen over the summer, obviously open enrollment changes, people continue to leave the district and are maybe replaced by, a teacher decides they want a job elsewhere, they might be replaced by a beginning teacher, those kind of things. So there are all kinds of reasons why a deficit could get put up in the summer, and I guess that's kind of what we're hoping again. So again, why the deficit in general? Last year we did sort of the same thing. There is no revenue growth. The compensation frameworks that we have do cost money, and we are rolling forward with those. And you don't have more money coming in, and you need to spend more money, obviously you get a deficit. And of course, the new payroll initiatives that you just passed. And what did the district do because of these things? I mean, we worked very hard with our insurance consultant to have that zero increase. That was very important to our budget this year. We're doing marketing and continuing to try and draw both resident students into the district, as well as continue our positive open enrollment trend. When we started 5-6 years ago, we had more students leaving the district than coming in, and that has been totally reversed. Now we have more students coming into the district than leaving. It's not a huge margin like some school districts, but at least it's a positive trend. And then again, overall, we saw the reduction in services, supplies, and equipment. There are some things that we, again, don't know yet about this budget that will be updated before the annual meeting. One of the biggest ones, I think, is the Wisconsin retirement rate. They're kind of late coming out with the 2016 rate. It's not been released yet. I hope that means it might not going to change much at all. It's been kind of a funky investment year where it seems like it's gone up a lot and then dropped down. That seems to be going back up. So I'm not sure where they're going to set our rate. But that percentage of everyone's payroll can be a big number if they adjust it by more than like 0.2% or something. And we'll have some summer hiring and enrollment will change. So none of the numbers are precise. Looking at a couple other funds, our hot lunch program this year has had a tough year. We will finish with a loss. There are definitely declining sales. What I call our stripe sales, or our daily lunch sales, are down almost 12%. Our a la carte is down much more than that. That's the per item purchases. A big part of that has to do with what we're able to offer for sale, both in portion size and menu choices, particularly in the a la carte, where we used to offer things like ice cream and more popular items, pizza, much of which has gone away, and that has not helped our sales at all. There's an initiative to do more scratch cooking. That tends to be a little costlier, although if we really analyze the budgeted expenses against what they had projected, they are well within budget. It's simply those sales that have declined that make this a little bit more difficult year. And we will work on that certainly for the 15-16 school year.
John,
Yes.
we know that the loss of our lunch program is due to the federal government's mandating of healthy eating, which we all agree is very important to our children. However, if we did without the federal government's plan, how much would it cost us?
Well, we have to consider that we have approximately just under 30% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. That is, although that is the number of students, that is actually probably closer to 40 to 45% of our revenue for the program. So certainly there'd be a risk. Would those students eat or continue to eat in the program if we had to charge a full-cost meal? I guess it's hard to say. I mean, we are getting aided on every single lunch we sell, even the ones that aren't free and reduced. There's a small percentage that the federal government still pays for those. That would go away. So if it simply only our current cash customers continue to eat, we would have a significantly smaller program than we do now. Could we make do with that? No. There's a few school districts that have done that and have been able to expand their meal offerings, but they're not the kind of school districts that really have any significant free and reduced population.
Okay. So none of our peers are currently doing that, you know? Okay.
I've only heard of like a real high-end, what would be like a, I think, Norway something out there.
Muskego.
Yeah,
Yeah.
did something like that. Might be a couple others. There's not a lot, but there are definitely districts would have probably less than 5 or 8, 10%.
Okay. So even with those small loss that we have, we're much farther better off continuing with the
Well,
program.
Yeah.
If we could bring ice cream
If we could
back.
bring our sales back, I think that, certainly we have goals within the department to bring our sales back to the 2000.
Well, could we put an ice cream machine off campus?
It's called McDonald's.
You know, on the way into school?
Well, and, it's gonna be interesting if you could actually have that at school. Might have to have someone own that machine and then donate the proceeds. Might be a way around it. I don't think you could ever have it in the school.
Well, that's another idea. So, well, we'll think about that. Thank you, John. I appreciate that explanation because a lot of people have been saying, you know, with this federal mandates and everything like that, you know, why are we spending the money? And we're
Oh,
spending.
yeah, we had I was at a conference in the spring in Middleton, and they had a consultant there, the room was packed, and there's people with the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
Across districts that they're just not keeping up with sales because of the changes.
So in fact, one shoe doesn't fit all people, correct?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Sure. Going on with community ed, we are likely to, I'm not even gonna say we're gonna show us operating deficit this year. I think we're gonna come extremely close to breaking even. 15-16 is budgeted right now with a small operating deficit, but let me tell you that the rules have changed. Earlier there were items like police liaison, which we no longer charge to community ed. There may be even more. It's gonna kind of be subject to how we get through this audit this year. But the DPI rule is pretty hard line. Instead of controlling the revenues on the tax side now, they're gonna control the costs. And the only thing you can put in there is things that apply directly to community ed. So like right now, we charge some custodial time for cleaning community ed facilities, that kind of thing. That may or may not be allowed anymore because you would have to prove that that custodial time wouldn't exist except for community ed. And I'm not sure how hardline the audits are gonna be on this, so we're kind of leaving it in for now, but if that's the case, we won't have an operating deficit budgeted next year. The revenues and whatnot are relatively similar to prior years. And, so I guess there's, sort of as we go. And that's pretty much all I have for this year's budget at this point. Certainly we will do the more detailed analysis of taxes, revenue limits and things when the annual meeting comes along. And frankly, I put that in there because there's all kinds of slides with that on already. For tonight and, to start the summer, I think we're in the place we need. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John.
Thank you.
John, you mentioned that the good news that we have a trend of more students coming into the district than going out.
Yes,
Is that attributed to our programming and
I think you can,
excellence in education
all
here?
kinds of different reasons. I don't think this district was real proactive in going out and recruiting students maybe 6 or 8 years ago. I think that our Jamie and Community Ed has done a really good job of getting our district in the newspapers and in the media and people seeing what's going on here, and that's going to attract different people, obviously. Building things that we're building, and really we see it in 2 places. Most of the open enrollment tends to come into the high school, and it tends to come in very early, 4K, 5K, when daycare and those kind of issues are in play. And that's where we see the real entries into the district, but I think that's pretty much true of most districts. That's when people are making their choices for the most part. But the trend is, a lot of the students who may have moved out of the district and tried the new district are coming back. That's certainly part of our open enrollment growth, and we just don't have as many leaving the district to choose other schools, which I think is also part of it.
And also, just so you know, our principals did call this year every single parent that was new to every family that came into the district. And they gathered all the information, they asked 4 questions from each family. And actually, I'm meeting with someone tomorrow who's gonna work on pulling all that information together and bring some data to us so that we can see what it is that's bringing these people to us. And I think that we'll be able to share that as we go forward with our next strategic plan. So,
That'll be great
yeah,
information.
I think so, I do,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Have you seen any increase in the tech ed programs
I-
with our
I-
LTC?
Yes, and actually, I was reading the data today. I was reading all the qualitative data that had been written, and many of the comments from the high school students is about our CTE courses, our tech ed. Yes, I see that a lot. Mhm.
Do you think it would be advisable that that you could set up another group of administrators and tech ed people to talk about what they need for the future in tech ed, so we'd have some idea?
Yes.
Because when I toured that area, it was wonderful, it was up to date, but I could see a lot of things that would be beneficial, like we have a CNC lathe, but it would be nice to have another rather horizontal twin
Yes.
spindle CNC. It'd be nice to have some other things where we could actually work with our art department, maybe cast aluminum art with the art people. So, these all types of things.
Yep,
And,
yes, yeah, we absolutely will be doing that. So those are great ideas,
Okay.
Tim. Excellent.
What are CT courses?
Career technical education. So it would be, culinary, technical education, the welding, the CNC manufacturing, the engineering program was one that was mentioned. The Food Science and Ag Center was brought up not only in the high school data, but also some of the elementary parents mentioned the Food Science and Ag Center. So, yeah, the business would be considered CTE. So art, they weren't mentioned, but those, I know that they will be soon because we'll just make them just as good. So, and also our college level courses that we offer. That was another hot item. So,
Just one other thing. John, when you said what we're doing differently, you said the word recruiting. We're not actually recruiting students
No,
directly.
I mean.
It's just the
it's-
PR and the storytelling
right,
and those
exactly.
things.
There's,
Yeah,
it's
Right.
putting Plymouth
Getting
out there and getting
information
in
out there.
people's
right,
minds.
right. Our school is clearly open to anybody, and if you've heard our story, you should have your children here. so.
right.
yeah.
And actually, Jamie's going to come to the committee of the whole meeting next month, and we're going to talk about our next campaign and the fact that we're going to be looking at not only, offering our school district to others, but hopefully offering our community, not just the district, but the entire community. So I know Kathy Murray said, live here, learn here. We want them here in Plymouth so that they enhance the Plymouth community as well as the school district. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, a period of did anybody sign? Nobody signed, okay. We'll advance to number 8, board liaison. Community education, Richard York, please.
In community education, I've tried to share some of the purposes that are listed in our Constitution and bylaws. And one of the purposes is that we exist to in-service all segments of the community and understanding why we have community education and recreation. And Plymouth has a premier program in community education. You know, perhaps from what I understand, we may be in the top of the state. I think there was 26 different school districts that have community education programs, and you know, our community ed director leads that statewide organization, and we do a really good job at community education, and I think it speaks to the fact that we're not just educating the children who come into our school system, we're educating everybody, you know, lifelong learning. You're always having to learn and grow and change and gain more knowledge and apply that knowledge. And community education is all about that, whether it's in how to take care of yourself better physically or gaining some culinary skills or you know, just a wide variety of it. And so I think our goal is to say we're about educating everybody who resides within the Plymouth School District and some of those who live beyond our borders. And there's a couple of classes that are coming up. If you're one who wants to get your feet up off the ground, there's a ropes class, a couple of ropes classes with the high towers, and you can jump off that big pole and do all that kind of exciting stuff. They have, in the month of July, 1 to 2 in the afternoon, it's for youth exclusively, but in the evening, they have one for families. So if you're looking for a good family event, an inexpensive opportunity, and do something that would challenge and put your family on adventure, go to the ropes course and take that class. If you're, on the other hand, you want to go deep, we do have a scuba course that's happening. That's for, you have to be at least 10 years and older, and that's a one evening thing from 6 to 7 p.m. on Monday, July 6th, and Clayton Moore will introduce you to your opportunity to explore, well, the depths of our swimming pool, I guess. But you can take it further than that. And if you're...
Longer than an hour or two, I might add. You can't get the people up. It'll last longer than an hour.
Longer than that. Okay.
I hope we can get the people. Back up, back up.
And if going high and going low doesn't hit it for you, there is a running club that starts in July, and you can keep your feet on the ground, and an interesting opportunity to learn the skill and mechanic of running. I think their goal is for those who want to run a 5K, and if you've been a bit sedentary and you want to get active, join the running club. So that's all community ed.
Thank you, Richard. Foundation, Bob?
Foundation, I don't have a lot to report. We do have some plans in the works for the open houses that will surround the greenhouse, so stay tuned for that. And more detail is available both on the foundation website, and there'll be more information going out to people regarding that. In addition to that, there's a Pay It Forward campaign that will be launching in the fall. So the foundation's doing a lot of work in the way of looking at how to grow the experience of learning in our community, and that takes funds to do that. The final piece that is being launched and kind of reintroduced is the grant writing program that we will be offering, and there'll be a lot of details and new information coming out on how the foundation will support educational opportunities within our district by allowing teachers and other individuals to write grants to explore new ideas. So it's all very exciting and good hard work coming from the people that are working on the foundation.
Thank you, Bob. Family Resource Center, Pam.
We received a testimonial from one of the moms that participated in our program, Parents as Teachers, back in 2002. And her sons are now 13 and 10. And she just wanted to let us know how much she valued the program. And both her boys are excelling in school and 4-H, And they really attribute much of their success to the early teachings that she received from the Parents as Teacher program. So I just thought this was really cool to get. And to quote, it says, "I feel very fortunate to have had the chance to take part in your program and have that woman as her guide. It was very, very invaluable, and thank you." So they're great kids, and she had not really held a baby before having her own. So there's much value in having someone come in your home who's licensed and then can meet with you once a month and help you through those difficult times. So it all works out great, and that's my report.
Thank you, Pam. And CISA 7, John.
I do not have anything to report this month.
Okay. Professional Development Council, Sally. She's not here.
Nope.
So,
And I don't think there's anything to report on that since it's summer.
right, correct. Okay. Very good. We'll move on to item number 9. Personnel, and Carrie, you want to?
Sure, I will do A and B, and
Sure.
then you can do C. First of all, we will have the board consider the approval of a 100% contract for Ms. Kayla Black to be a cross-categorical teacher at Fairview Elementary School, beginning with the 2015-16 school year. Ms. Black graduated from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and special education. She has 3 years of teaching special education at Gigan Elementary School in Menasha, Wisconsin. And we will also ask the board to consider the resignation request of Ms. Wendy Schleiss, physical education teacher at Riverview Middle School, effective at the end of the 2014-15 school year. Wendy has been in the Plymouth School District for 9 years.
No. Can we do both at one?
Yes, you absolutely can.
We can do both. We need one motion for both this.
So moved.
Seconded?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll continue with item C. That's salaries for our district leadership team. Okay. We will need a motion to approve a 2.7% salary pool to be distributed based on discretion of the superintendent and the school board according to the district's administrative career and compensation plan.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Okay. Then, support staff update, Carrie.
Yep, tonight, for the support staff update, we have Mary Weezer, special education teacher's aide at Riverview Middle School. She will retire at the end of the 2014-15 school year. She has worked for the district for 22 years. And Gail Shu, who is a 4K teacher at Parkview Elementary School, will retire at the end of the 2014-15 school year. And Gail has worked for the district for 24 years. And Ms. Jeannie Krupp, special education teacher's aide at Riverview Middle School, will retire at the end of the 2014-15 school year. And Jeannie has worked for the school district for 22 years. So lots of years are going, but we thank them for all their service and we wish them well. I've met with Gail and Mary, and I'm meeting with Jeannie this week, and the district is very, very grateful for everything that they've given us.
I notice a lot of special education teachers are we hemorrhaging in that area?
Aid or-
Particularly at Riverview, yeah. It seems like every time we meet, we're losing special education teacher. Is that normal, or we have some issues here?
For the aides, I mean, in the exit interviews right now with these, it's basically they're ready to retire. Teachers, I don't know either. I know we've had some from Fairview, and do we have any from Riverview this year, please?
Well, Wendy leaving.
Oh, Wendy.
Wendy.
Yeah, no, Wendy's a physical education teacher, yeah, so. Right now, because I do exit interviews with them, Richard, and right now I'm not hearing anything that would be concerning to me with the aides, with the teachers' aides.
Isn't it true, though, that the teachers by the various, over the years, like the ones that are retiring, they have put a lot of years of service in with our school district, and they are retiring with looking forward to it. I mean, this isn't something that is
In the case of the two that I interviewed, yes, that's for the aides, yes.
any more questions? Okay, we don't have anybody from the consent agenda. Item 11 would be the president's report. I just wanted to discuss the fact that right now, if the state budget goes as it was told, we will receive our $150 back. There will be no cuts of that $150 for this year. This is still in debate. There's a lot of things going on in the state. They're also debating an arena, and they're debating other things. But we seem pretty assured from our state representatives that this $150 will remain firm, and we can plan from that and go forward. Unfortunately, that's zero increase or zero growth. And if you're ever in business and you had zero growth, you do one of two things. You either hire more salespeople or you go out of business. So we'll have to look and see what we can do about growing our district and seeing, like all these plans we talked about, our CT area with extensive, another CNC project or something like that, our arts, and with our agricultural unit. So we are going to next year talk and see what we can do.
Good, thank you. All right, and for the superintendent's report, we have some student accomplishments. I first want to congratulate, we had approximately 186 graduates graduate on Saturday, June 7th. It was a beautiful day, and it was fun to participate in that wonderful event. I also want to thank one of our very loyal Fairview volunteers, Maureen Bruger. She has been a volunteer at Fairview Elementary School for 11 years, and not only has she given her time selflessly to our students, but has also encouraged others to do so. She is officially retiring as a volunteer, so thank you, Maureen, very much. I also was able to attend the Youth Apprenticeship graduation at the end of May, and it was very nice to see that we had 13 students graduate from the Youth Apprenticeship program with LTC, and it was great to see them and their mentors walk across that stage and receive their certificate of achievement. And you know what's really nice is when you see the mentors who actually mentor these students in the workforce, they're just as proud as the students are. So it's pretty nice. We did have some track state qualifiers. Sophie Bullock and qualified for the state 1600 meter and the 3200 meter run. Mary Albert qualified for the 100 meter hurdle. Zach Albers qualified for the 300 meter hurdle. Gavin Falk qualified for the long jump. Jake Schneider, the 200-yard dash. Samuel Staling, the 100 and the 200 meter dash. And the relay team of Evan Sabronic, Jake Schneider, Samuel Staling, and Dominic Bocchini for the 800 meter relay. We also had tennis state students, and one is Mac Primizic, and Gabe and Gavin Benversi both qualified for the state tennis match. And for dates to remember, summer school starts June 29th. There will also be an open house at Riverview that will be held from 3 to 6 on June 24th and from 1 to 4 on June 25th. The July Committee of the Whole meeting will be on July 13th at 5 p.m. in the Plymouth High School boardroom. The next school board meeting is July 21st at 5 o'clock in the amphitheater, and the Plymouth High School German Band will be performing in the City Park on July 23rd. That's all I have this evening, and there's no closed session.
Very good. Are there any questions? We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?